Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Paratalk. And on this episode, I am once again joined by the legend himself, Tom, Mr. Shrouded Hand. Well, there he is. I heard him for a moment, but
You made me laugh.
okay, so there he is. My introduction
Hello.
has been there. There we go. And we're going to talk about some weird links. Well, what we've done, I said to Tom, I said, look, let's do an episode. But let's do an episode where you go off and find something that you want to talk about, and I'll go off and find something that I want to talk about and see what we come back with. So, but anyway, without me waffling too much, how have you been, Tom? What have you been up to? Because it's been a while since we spoke.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know what I've been up to. Same old, melting because it's too hot as always. Yeah, just working on some videos, doing a bit of streaming, playing some games, and all that good stuff, really.
Well,
Staying
yeah,
in my house most of the time,
you.
never going out.
Well, no, you do walk the dog.
Oh, walk the dog, yeah.
I mean,
that's...
Yeah. I was going to ask you, have you now your gnome planting days, are they over?
Oh, well, where I hide random gnomes that I've made around.
Yeah.
No, they're not actually. I want to make some more.
So, all right. So, do you ever go back to the scene where you implant the gnome and check that someone's not swiped it?
Well, what I do, I make little gnomes and I hide them around in the hope that people take them. So they're almost all gone. There's one that's been there. I think I hid the last ones in March, and there's one that's been there since then, hiding under a rock. It's just at the park up the road from me. There's a nice little wildlife park, and I've just gone around hiding these little gnomes that I've made out of this clay stuff. And people, most of them are gone. People have found them. I hid them all in quite obvious places, but there's one that's still there. Apparently, because I put a picture of it on Instagram, someone who lives nearby has gone there and found it, took a picture of it, and then put it back in its hiding space. So it might still be there. But I'm probably going to go and hide some more around there. Another thing I like doing is painting. I like to paint pictures on little rocks, and then go and hide them in places for people to find.
Well, I think that if you keep doing that, there might be a bit of a legend built up that the legend of the gnome dropper. So I think that it's people find stuff like that, and you get it back, and they think, I found this in the park. Like, what if it's cursed? What if somebody put a hex on it, and it's and then their whole lives are destroyed? I'm sure you haven't done that, but
Well,
I just think it's great. I think it's great. How often are you out for a walk and you find something like that, a trinket, a gift from wherever? I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And you were saying about gaming.
I like the idea of it.
It is. It's an unusual idea, and it's something that's a bit of fun in it. It's a bit of fun, Oh, you were going to say about gaming? I was going to ask you. Could you be new on your Twitch and that? How's that been going?
Yeah. It's going all right. It's a small. I've got a small following on there at the minute, but it's growing every day. I'm getting more and more followers and subscribers and all that. And I'm just doing been playing a bit of Resident Evil, and then a bit of Dark Souls. Just whatever I feel like playing. Really, it's quite fun.
So, do you base your channel mainly around like the classic sort of old school sort of gaming? Or is it going to be sort of more sort of modern stuff as well?
It's a mix, really. I'd say I probably prefer all the classic. Well, classic as in like the early survival horror type of games. But I play some modern ones just because people like to see them and they like to know what they're about. So it's they get good views. So I'll cover them as well. But I mostly focus on horror. I suppose just because it's what people expect from my channel.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite sort of classic sort of console?
Oh God, now you're asking. I've had so many over the years. I mean, my all-time favorite, and it's more of a computer than a console, is the ZX Spectrum.
Oh
Because
yes, well,
that's really what I started with, and I've still got one now. So I still play it, but I don't know if that counts as a console. It's more of a microcomputer, isn't it?
yeah, home
You
micro,
know,
yeah.
I think when I first started getting properly into consoles was around like the PlayStation 1 era. Up to that point, I'd had like computers, Amigas, Spectrums, but yeah, and then me and my brother went mad on like anytime we'd have some spare money, which wasn't very often, we'd end up saving up and trying to buy a console. So we ended up with like Sega Saturn, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, like between us. So we were little console kids back then.
Yeah, I got quite taken when I mean, being a PC gamer,
Yeah.
back in the day, I I got quite taken with consoles because they were quick and easy, and
Mm.
obviously, the graphics were getting good. And I had a Super NES, and I loved it. Mario Kart,
Hmm.
Pilot Wings, all those kind of games. I loved them all. And when the original PlayStation 1 came out, everybody was raving about it. You've got to get it. It's the latest thing. It's disc based and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And I bought it, and I sold all my Super NES stuff and all my games and that. And I bought this, the PS1, and I was a little bit underwhelmed when I started playing it, and I'm like thinking,
Mm.
did I make the right decision? Did I? And I never really kind of gelled with it. I never really it never really became my gaming go-to. I played it for a while. Maybe I had it for about a year, and then I think I sold it. I just boxed it all up. Somebody said, "Oh, I'll buy that from you," and I sold it. And I just bought some PC stuff with the money. But I just never really got with it, and I always regretted like selling my NES and my Super NES and all the games. Have you ever done that? Have you
Mm.
ever regretted something like
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I did just. There was a time where I really needed money, and as I say, I'd been collecting games and things since probably like the PlayStation era, and I absolutely tons because I'd gone through like university and we had like a PlayStation 2, and I bought tons of games for that. And then one day I needed money, so I just went and sold like pretty much my entire collection of games, and not just my games, like all my DVDs. I had like massive collections of like horror DVDs and things, and now I'm thinking, I really like recently I've started to get back into physical media.
Yeah.
I've been games and films, and I've started trying to buy them back again, but I really regret having getting rid of. And some of the games that I got rid of are like worth hundreds now. Like really rare things that I just thought, these probably got like a quid for them or something back then, but they're probably worth about 300, 400 quid now. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I have maybe anywhere between 150 to sort of 250 8-bit Spectrum Commodore 64
Hmm.
games, all in their like original cassette format and
Yeah.
cassette, packaging and stuff. And I've got them all boxed up. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm going to donate these. I'm going to find a channel
Mm.
on YouTube that's in England, and I'm going to donate it. And then a little man inside of me says, like, no, you've got to hold on to it. You've got to keep these because it's part of your past. It's part of your computer heritage where you grew up playing computer games, and then I keep them. And it's just, I don't think I'm ever going to buy another Spectrum or another
Mm.
Commodore 64. I haven't got the room to start with, but it's that kind of like little man in your head that keeps you like hold on to it, keep stuff, and it's like
Mm.
I do understand where you're coming from, and I think it's an age thing where you get to a certain age and you think you want the things you had when you were younger. Now that you have a little bit more expendable income, when I was a kid growing up in the
Yeah.
'70s, the digital watches were the thing. Anyone that had a digital watch was, that was science fiction. And I always looked in the catalogs, and I'd ask the catalog, my mum, can I take the catalog upstairs and look at it? Not because I want to look at anything else, but I wanted to look at digital watches. And,
All
and,
right.
that, and that was what, that was me. That was like, I was mad on them. And now when I'm older, I'm a grown up man now. I've got a nice little collection of like original Seiko digital watches, all
Mm.
in near mint condition. And it's like,
Yeah.
but now, because they're so rare, I'm so scared to wear them. It's really weird. It's
Yeah.
like, why don't you wear those watches? Well, I don't want to scratch them. I don't want to ding it, because if you ding it, that's it. And it's
Yeah.
like, you're on that kind of like, do you, don't you? And I think it's the same with computer games. When you get a collection of stuff and you want to use it, and it's nice, that's kind of feeling where you have it and you can put the cassette in or you put the cartridge in and it works. I think a lot of people are going back to that kind of physical media, real tactile using stuff, because what we stream, everything's online, isn't it? And for example, my internet went down the other week, only for about an hour, but I had no access to anything, nothing. I was twiddling my thumbs. Well, I wasn't twiddling my thumbs. I did something, but I had no access to anything. So, sometimes it's good. I mean, I've got a small DVD collection. I've got a few box sets of things like Sapphire and Steel and the original Battlestar Galactica and some Space 1999 stuff. But it's also room as well. It would be nice if I had my own media room where I could just walk into it and then had all my bits in there. But how much do you collect? Where does it end?
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, at the minute, me and my wife are doing we've got a little mission to try and watch every Nicolas Cage movie ever, every movie that he starred in, and a lot of them you can't find to stream. So I'm sort of slowly building a collection of Nicolas Cage movies on physical media, just so we can watch them and tick them off our list. He's got hundreds of movies. So, yeah, that's one of my reasons for collecting physical media at the minute, purely to get Nicolas Cage's back catalogue.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of. I'll say he's been in a lot of films.
Yeah.
That's going to be
it's got a real eclectic mix of things as well. So.
But anyway, we're going to move on a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of these links that we've got, because some people are going to be going, can you just shut up? Tell us about ghosts and stuff, please. So that's what we're going to do. But I don't know. This is the first link we're going to do, and this is one that I told you earlier that when I saw this link, I said, hey, I listened to a podcast on this a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
and they're called the heading of it is called face peelers, and apparently this is happening. Is it in Peru, isn't it?
Peru, yeah. I think it's just one village in Peru.
Yeah,
or one tribe.
So give me the basics of what's going on here. What's actually happening?
Okay. Well, I'll read the article. I'll read the first bit of the article because it gives a good rundown. It says, terrified villagers in a rural Peruvian district have claimed that they've come under attack by 7-foot-tall aliens that they've dubbed Los Pelacaras, or the face peelers. They've reported that mysterious figures in dark-coloured hoods are attacking villagers. And people have been taken to hospital. They've been attacked. Their faces have been sliced up. Or there's a 15-year-old girl who's had her neck slashed open by these creatures. So, they're doing night patrols to try and keep them away.
So this has been in the. I mean, I've heard this on another podcast where they were talking about these kind of. These kind of things and stuff like that, but I don't. I'm on the fence with this. I'm wondering if basically what we've got here is something a little bit more on the human side of things rather than aliens, because I'm finding it. I don't know. I don't want to say it is one thing or the other. Okay, I always like to be on the fence, as you well know. But I'm wondering what would you think the motivation would be for something? Say, okay, let's pretend it is it's an alien, but maybe it's like a monster alien that's not really. It's escaped from their spaceship. It was a pet.
Yeah.
And it's now multiplied into multiple versions of itself, and it's running around attacking people. What do you think the motivation is for doing that?
I don't know. It doesn't really, from what I'm trying to figure out, whether it's coming to attack people or whether it's just sort of defending itself as the villagers try to like keep it away from their village. It's hard to tell, but there is people who've seen them, and they say they've got large heads and yellow eyes, and they've got these big round heads. This sounds almost like a balloon. It says they use the heads to float. And they wear a mask. The eyes are yellowish. I don't know. I don't really know whether they said that. I'm trying to read.
Well, it
like
says they claim that they have been attacked. They've been attacked them every night for nearly a month since July the 11th. So this is like an ongoing thing. This isn't something just happened and it didn't happen. This is an ongoing thing. So
I mean, I don't know why would an alien threat be attacking some random village in Peru? I have no idea.
Well, the village, the group now have requested a military presence from the authorities. However, it's reported it takes a 10-hour river trip to reach the community from Icurita City. I know I got that wrong, but I'm doing my best. It says, we need support for our community. The children do not sleep and the mothers stay up all night. They appear to be armored. I shot one of them twice and he wasn't injured. He rose and disappeared. So there's actually, gunfire and people think these things are being shot or shot at, and they don't seem to die. This is something similar to what happened allegedly on Skinwalker Ranch when they encountered that large dog, which they shot at with a high-powered rifle, and it didn't seem to do anything to it, as if the bullets just passed through it or embedded into it. So, I don't know. It's definitely something that maybe there's something going on. It's hard to tell now with all the UFO stuff that's going on in the world.
I mean, I don't know. It could be some kind of like mass hysteria event. It's just there are people coming back with wounds, so it's hard to, like, what's doing these wounds to people. Is it a wild animal? I did cover a similar phenomenon on my channel a while ago called Pish-Taco, and that's a similar thing. I think it's from the same area, like Peru. They've got this folklore that dates back to like the conquistador times of these creatures that come out at night and they steal the fat from people. They'll cut them open and take the fat out of their bodies, and they're called like the fat stealers. And it sounds very similar. And now and then there'll be like this mass panic event where they'll think the Pish-Tacos are coming to attack some rural village. And one of the more like people have tried to trace the origin of this folklore, and they reckon it is from when the Spanish conquistadors went there and were just like killing random tribe members and things, and they might have been witnessed like cooking the bodies on fires and things like that, and they thought that they were stealing the fat from their bodies. And a lot of time it's, say, like a foreigner turns up in a jungle somewhere, usually like a white traveler, and they see his pale skin and they think it's one of these Pish-Tacos. And sometimes there'll be like random tourists that go off into the jungle and they'll get killed because the locals think that they're a Pish-Taco. So it could be something similar to that. The locals are seeing something in the jungle and they're mistaking it for aliens. But it's the fact that it's been going on for so long and people are seeing them face to face, and they're also coming back with wounds, that seems to make it a bit more, makes me think, what is actually happening here?
Yeah, I'm okay. So let me play devil's advocate and put it this way. Maybe there's something in that area where those people live, and there's an outside force that wants whatever it is there. Maybe it's mining minerals or something. I don't know. And maybe they're sort of trying to scare the people away so that they move away from that area so that they can then move in and set up shop. And the way that they're doing it is they're playing on their fears of maybe folklore or their belief structure, what they believe it might be. And they're trying to physically hurt people, not kill them, but physically hurt them in a way that would make them, just pack up and go, we're moving. But there is allegedly one video out there. I don't know whether it's real or it's been authenticated or anything like that. But there is a video floating around that's allegedly attached to this, and it shows a person that's been attacked by one of these beings, and basically has been, from the top lip up, has been skinned, so that it's just bone showing, and half and half. I don't know. The problem is now with AI and with social media, is everything is so difficult to say, that's real or that's not real. It's very difficult. And obviously, these people, there's no reason, I don't see any reason for these people to just be making stuff up and lying, unless there's anything in it for them. But it doesn't seem to be like that. They actually do seem to be really scared of something. So I don't know. I'm on the fence with this. It's going to be something, I think, that's going to be another one of those mysteries of stuff that's going on over there. And you have a lot of that stuff like in Mexico as well, when all the UFO stuff was really getting really crazy over there. People seeing strange creatures in the streets at night, in the dark parts of the streets, and children coming face to face with what we would call greys, or like insect-like creatures. So you don't know what's going on with this sort of stuff. It's all a bit creepy. So I'm for me, this story, I'm definitely on the fence with it.
I mean, I wasn't, when I read it, it did remind me of the Pish Taco video I did, but I just thought it was interesting, and I just like the fact that they're called face peelers. That gives it an extra sort of creepy edge to it. But it also reminded me of, do you remember that recently there was a video going around, and it was like, I think it was in America, a family had called the police because they'd seen these 7-foot tall aliens in their back garden.
Oh, that was with the police. It was a meteor, wasn't it, that came, or a comet?
Yeah,
meteor fragment, and it was through the sky, and it turned out that they rang because something had landed in there, or something was seen in their back garden, and the police arrived, and somebody else had said they'd seen something as well. And then that story kind of went a bit cold, didn't it, and disappeared.
Yeah. But it just reminded me of that, because it said 7-foot tall aliens. And I thought, that really, like, didn't they describe the aliens in that backyard in a similar way? Like they said they were really tall and they just come out of nowhere. And it was, I don't know whether there's a link. It just made me think of it, to be honest. Well,
I'm on the fence. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. Whether it goes anywhere, I don't know. But then, fortunately, like with a lot of these accounts, they kind of they're there. People talk about them and then they disappear, and then something else comes along. Unfortunately, but we'll see. So moving on to the next story. This is another link that you sent in. The Grey Man is a South Carolina ghost that's said to warn locals before hurricanes. So it's a kind of like a hurricane ghost that warns people of oncoming or an onset of a hurricane. Is that right?
Yeah, this is and it's only seems to be in one area called Pawleys Island in South Carolina. And this apparently before a hurricane hits, and this legend goes back like hundreds of years, like 200 years, it says on the site I'm looking at. And apparently now people will see this grey man figure, and he'll just appear to them, and it'll serve as a warning. And apparently a lot of people, their lives have been saved because they've seen this grey man, and they thought, oh yeah, that means that there's a hurricane coming, and they'll get to cover, or they'll run somewhere else, and they'll be saved.
It's interesting because there's lots of those stories around, isn't there, where people have, you see something, whatever it might be, before an event, a storm, of a volcano, or bad weather, or a flood, and you'll see a bird or whatever it might be. And there's lots of folklore and legends about stuff like that, harbingers of like a warning, whatever. Whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something random, but whatever. And it's interesting that this falls into the same area as that. and it's kind of more of a. It says the legend of the Grey Man is a translucent cloaked figure who appears on Pawley Island, South Carolina, when a massive storm is due to hit the coast. Let's have a look. Most Carolinians have heard. They're aware of this. Though decidedly spooky, the Grey Man is hardly a boogeyman. Sorry. Unlike other spirits of legends, the ghost serves as a holy altruistic purpose to save lives. And according to the residents of Pawley Island, when a Hurricane Florence approached in 2018, it stirred him from his slumber.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are people that have seen this individual.
And there are say that this is a story they thought when they're growing up.
The photos are they're
a bit unclear.
They're a bit unclear. So Chip Coffee, we all know Chip Coffee. This is what he says. There's a picture. We'll put all the links in the show so you can have a look. What we're looking at is a promenade area on the water, wooden promenade area, and there's you could say it was a man with a cloak on or something, but it's very, very dark in the frame.
Where are you looking on there? Because that picture, I can't even see anything in that one.
It's sort of down the bottom a bit, down the bottom of the page. If you go all the way down the bottom.
No, I mean I can see the picture, but I can't see any figure in it.
In the picture, in the middle of the frame, you can see what I suppose it's meant to be a person, or what he's right in the middle of the frame. It says Chip Coffee says this is allegedly a photo of the Grey Man ghost, whose legend says shows up prior to a devastating hurricane. Reports say he has recently made an appearance on the beach of Pawley Island, and then obviously Hurricane Florence, and there's other people that have made comments as well. But I'm always a bit with this kind of stuff. I am a little bit more on the fence or off the fence with this kind of stuff, because it's down to your personal experience. And now I could look at this as an individual and go, well, I think it's a load of rubbish. I just made up. People are just one person tells a story and it just goes through the generations and it gets embellished and whatever. No one's ever seen it. No one's got really any decent pictures. But I think it's down to personal experience. Like a lot of these things, if you experience something and it seems very real to you, then it might be real. To you, it's real. So it might as well be real. But I think that the problem is when we look at stuff like this, you have to kind of look at the background and look where it came from. And there's a lot of these stories with English history, with English folklore. If you go back hundreds of years, and a lot of ghost stories with, we were talking, I can't remember what episode it was. We were talking about fairies. We were talking about the fae, and people going out and experiencing in the woods and having a fairy encounter, and either it being a good one or a bad one or whatnot, or missing time and waking up hours later with their wallet gone or whatever, or their bag of shekels, or their whatever they had, their donkey. Maybe they stole their donkey. I don't know. But if I don't know. Back then, would you be able to afford a donkey? How much were donkeys back then? Quite expensive, I think.
I
don't know. But anyway, so I'm once again, it's an interesting story. The Grey Man is a definitely interesting story. But where do you what do you feel about it? What do you feel?
I think it's an interesting legend. I don't know whether I believe it. None of the photos are very clear. The other one as well. Have you seen the one that was on Facebook by Ed Piotrowski? That one's also kind of dubious, but
no, I didn't see that one. But I'm sure
I'll put it in the. You can see it on the streets. See it on the chat there, the private chat on the Streamlabs thing. This was a recent photograph.
Oh yeah.
It's another kind of blurry one. It's just a kind of, you can see the
Yeah.
sea, and then you can see a strange,
And you can see a
what
thing
could
like
be a
looks like a
figure.
person.
It could
Yeah.
be a person, but this was a more recent
Yeah.
sighting of the grey man. I just found it an interesting story because yeah, as you say, there is a lot of these sort of harbinger ghost type of tales, and it was one that I hadn't heard of, and I found it an interesting bit of a local legend, and I just wanted to share it
Yeah.
really. And I like the fact that it's got some photographs, even if they are a bit dubious.
I'm not saying it's a load of rubbish. I'm just saying that you know, I want a better picture. Get me a better picture.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
I know
the
what you mean.
more
I know what you
convincing things is there's a lot of stories of people saying that they've seen him, and that's, you know, I find them more convincing than the images. Is just people's like eyewitness accounts of seeing the grey man. But you know, it's just an interesting little legend.
People have definitely seen something. That's all we can
Yeah.
say. Well, that's all I can say. Is people have definitely seen something. Whatever it might be, I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be, you know. Anyway, let's move on from harbingers of not doom, but saving people to something that hasn't been in the press for an awfully long time, and that is the Loch Ness monster
Yeah.
or Nessie.
Been making a
How,
bit of a
how long?
resurgence.
Yeah, how long? I mean, I remember watching Arthur C. Clarke, and there was a mini report on there about the Loch Ness monster and a guy on the
Yeah.
beach, and he said, "Oh, he was going to do like sonar and stuff to find," and he
Mhm.
came up with this years later. I think it was sponsored through the newspapers. They came up with this photograph of what I suppose would be a fin, what looks like a fin of a long dead creature that used to live in the seas, and they said, "Oh, it's this. It could be one of those that were basically swam in there after the ice age and got landlocked or something, and it's now living in there." But so other
Yeah.
people say, "Well, that's not possible because there isn't enough food in Loch Ness to furnish a creature that large because it was pretty
Mm.
big." Um, and people will argue saying, "Oh, yes, there are. There's plenty." And some people say, "No, there isn't." And they've gone on like that for years, arguing about fish and stuff. So that intrigues me. And then, of course, we had the Nessie cartoon, but that's another thing. But
The Family Ness, was that
yeah,
one? Yeah, I remember
I
that.
used to live in a cave in the ocean. So there might be more than one of them down there. It might be like a whole family of Nessies, the Muck Nessies.
Yeah.
And that isn't a McDonald's burger. That is their name. That's their address. Loch Ness, Mucknessie, Loch Ness, Scotland. So if you want to write to them, that's where you send it. But they might not write back because they haven't got hands. So anyway, so let me just read this little bit. In the incredible images, Chai Kelly. Once again, if I get these names wrong, I do apologize to any native people who can say this correctly. I'm not very good at stuff like that. Chai Kelly captured an unidentified large eel-like creature slowly spinning on the surface of the legendary loch. And there's a picture of her holding her camera going, "Look, I took this picture with this camera." And it says, and now it goes back to a woman. It said a name up there. Right. A woman who captured the most exciting photographs ever of the Loch Ness monster has been revealed after she was too scared to show them. So you've got these pictures floating around, which are like really good. And you're like, "No, I'm not showing these because this could be bad news for me." It could be. I suppose
That's a bit weird.
if you think about it, yeah, but put it this way, right? There's been a lot of photographs of alleged Nessies over the years, and there's been a lot of people that have had to suffer a lot of Mickey taking. So I can understand it from that point of view, where what with social media, you know how toxic social media is. You know, you can go one way or the other, and it only takes one person to, you know, say something wrong or somebody else, and it can all go down the toilet quite quickly. So I can sort of kind of see it, and then maybe she's thinking, look, I got these pictures, they're a bit weird, but I'm just going to leave them in the album for my ancestors to find them, and maybe they'll know the answer.
Maybe.
So it says translator Chili 51 was taking photographs of the area of Dawes when she and her businessman husband Scott, 68, saw a strange creature move right to left over a distance of about 100 meters. I don't know what that is in feet for my American listeners. 100 meters is 3 feet to a meter.
Bad at that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so it's a few hundred, I don't know, a couple hundred feet, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it says Mrs. Kelly was so shocked by what she saw on August the 13th, 2018, that she said she feared public ridicule. There you go. And did not want to share the images, but she was inspired by the biggest search of Nessie in over 50 years at the weekend, in which hundreds of volunteers took part. It was then that she plucked up the courage to show her startling photographs to a veteran Nessie hunter. A veterinarian? What? Excuse me, I've got these photos. Do you think that is a Loch Ness monster? No, I'm a vet. I don't know. The veteran Nessie hunter, Steve Feltham, who has set the world record for the longest vigil of looking for Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, now over 30 years long. His Dawes base, he was astounded. I remember that guy because there was a news report on him, and he literally set up a watch post years and years and years ago, and he stayed on the loch, on the shore. He made like a little house, a little watch area, and I remember that. He's still there. God. So Mrs.
So he's
Kelly
just been sitting on the shores of Loch Ness for 30 years, just watching out
for 30 years, boiling water, drinking.
That's crazy. You think after like 10 years you'd be like, oh, I haven't seen anything, I'll give up on this. That's dedication. 30 years he's been sat there.
It is dedication. It's I mean, I'll be like, set it up, eat all my sandwiches, have me pot noodle, drink me Coke, or me Pepsi. Actually, I prefer Pepsi. And I'll be like, nah, he's not coming. Maybe I'll just stay the night. And I wake up in the morning and I think I can't do this anymore. I have to go. It's too blowy. Why is it always raining here? And why is it so windy? You know? And why did I buy such a cheap tent? I should have bought a decent tent. At least a double skin tent that doesn't let the water in. But that's dedication. I don't think he just sat there. He's just like sat on a wall somewhere waiting. Because that would be really. I think he's got like a little house up there that he's constructed, some sort of like watchtower, and I think he's sort of properly sort of established there.
Yeah,
I don't think he's just like wandering around just looking, like 30 years just wandering around the shores. That would be like you'd start to ponder, am I doing the right thing with my life here? Anyway,
you got to have a hobby.
Well, that's what you call a hobby. That's what you call dedication.
Yeah.
And just as he turns around, Nessie comes up, puts his head back down, and he completely misses it. 20 years waiting, and he just picked the stone up, and he missed it all. Anyway, so it was then that she plucked up the courage to show and then we're not going to read that again. And the guy was astounded. Mrs. Kelly was on holiday with her family from Ascot in Berkshire at the time of the sighting. The family have since moved to the New Forest and Why do we need to know this? Why do we need to know?
It's just padding, isn't it? It's just padding out the article.
It doesn't matter.
They've got a little bit of a story and they just want to make a full article out of it.
I'm going to quickly scan this. She said it was spinning and rolling at times. We never saw the head or the neck. After a couple of minutes, it disappeared and we never saw it again. So what I deduce is they saw like a torso spinning in the water. They didn't see a head or a neck.
Yeah.
They didn't say they saw any flippers or anything. She said it was about 200 meters. About 200 meters, a few hundred feet from the shore. So it wasn't like really near them. So I've seen the pictures and they are as I say, links will be with the story. They hasn't got Loch Ness got a cameras? Isn't it all like cameraed up now? Which and wouldn't that catch
Yeah,
it as
I
well?
think so. Yeah.
The official register, so it says the official register has now logged 1,160 sightings, including webcam images from records and other evidence, sketches back through the centuries. One of the most well-known photographs of Loch Ness monster later proved to be a hoax. That's the one with the little head going, "Hello, I'm looking at the water. I'm just looking around for leaves and stuff." Yeah. Colonel Robert Wilson came forward with a picture that appeared to show the sea serpent rising out of the water of Loch Ness. Wilson claimed he took the photograph early on a morning of April the 19th, 1934, while driving, along the northern shore of Loch Ness. The object, so that basically, I think that was the one that was turned out to be not real. I'm just gonna have a quick look at the comments, because sometimes the comments on these stories are better than the actual story themselves.
Yeah. Someone saying it's rocks.
Somebody says tourist hotspots, Highland. Yeah, not very. Why is it called a monster? It's never harmed anyone. That's one. Where's all my? Oh yeah, I know more comments. Give me some more comments. Let's have a look. I can't say that. Cool, blimey, he's a bit angry.
This is what someone here was saying. Something that I was thinking. I bet Mr. Feltman was slightly peed off after 30 years without a sniff of a picture, and along she comes and just gets a really easy picture of the Nessie, just some random tourist.
Well, yeah. I'd be a bit miffed at that. 30 years of their watching, and then she comes along and just gets the picture.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's seen some stuff. I'm sure the guy's seen some stuff, but maybe it's not the Nessie. Maybe it's not not the Nessie. I do think people are seeing something though. I don't know whether it's a sea monster. I don't know whether it's something that's left over from the dinosaur days. But I do think that there is something possibly either was in the loch, or it something that might still be in the loch. I don't know to what context or what size it might be. I think that it might be something in there, but it might not be as large as what we believe it might be. And this goes back to our earlier story where people tell stories of folklore and legends and say, "Oh yeah, it was a big monster, big dragon it was, and it lives in the water." And then as the years go by, the story becomes more than a story, and it becomes embedded into the history of the land and the area. And then when we come along, to us, it's like, yeah, it's real. It's a monster in there. So but we don't know. And then obviously, you're going to dive the loch. No, it's massive. It's massive deep. It's very deep, that place. So I don't know. But maybe
that does mean that something could potentially be down there. I think that's part of the mystery, isn't it? Because it's so deep. There could be a creature in there that just hasn't been discovered.
Well, they say one theory was that a creature like that would need to have access to the outside, to other places. And other people say, well, yeah, but how do you know that because it's so deep that there are not caves down there that lead to other places? And that's its way in and out. And that's why you never see it near the mouth of the loch or anything like that, because it's not actually going anywhere near there. It's moving. It's kind of traversing to other places underneath, So I don't know.
There is other sea life. Oh,
yeah,
there is other fishing thing in there, so there must be some kind of like self-contained ecosystem, even if it hasn't got access to outside. So why couldn't something just be in there feeding off what's in the
well, the thing is, right? Well, the thing is, it's like that. I know it's a not really the right same sort of thing, but if I said, right, Tom, you're coming with me, and I'm going to lock you in the local co-op, right? And you can't get out because I've got the key and I've locked you in. Now you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine because it's dry, it's warm. There's loads of things to eat. right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be fine. But those things are going to run out at some point or go bad, and you're not going to be able to eat them. So you're going to run out of stuff.
Yeah, but that would be the same for all the creatures living in there currently, wouldn't it? If that was the case, they must be self-sustaining in some way.
Or there's some access to keep new creatures coming in.
Maybe,
so they're
yeah.
like, a fish is out for a swim.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone out for his morning swim, and he comes to a doorway, and he thinks, "What's down there?" He swims down this like cave, and he comes out into the loch, and he thinks, "I never knew this was here. I've been swimming around this area for 20 years, and I never knew this loch. Oh, that's a big creature. What's that?" And then eats him.
Yeah. Well, there must be like rivers, like inlets into the loch where new fish and things can swim in. I don't know.
It's completely possible. Completely
possible. What do you think of the actual picture that's on the page? Do you think that's convincing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely. To
me, it just looks like two lumps of nothing. Really,
it looks like somebody, like in a wet coat or something. Something like that, or maybe some plastic or something. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm not saying that at all. The person that photographed it completely believed that what she was seeing was real. So it most probably, whatever it was she photographed, is very real. But as to the fact of what it is, I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, there's other pictures from this, like if you Google, you can find other pictures from the same set, and it looks like it has like moved. It's not rock. Like people are saying it's just rocks, but in some other photos they're like in different positions, so it must be moving around.
Yeah,
like
she did say it was spinning. Yeah, she did say it was spinning. It was good spinning, but she didn't hit. She only saw the middle part, not the
no head or anything.
Large, animals or dolphins and that, they do that, don't they? They spin around in the water. They're playing around. They're just chilling out. But I just think that, I don't know. It's got so much of a lore about it. The Loch Ness monster. It's so much legend about it. It's very difficult to sort of not. I don't mean to not take it seriously, but you have an open mind of it. But you've been kind of, well, I have. I've read so much on it with the Loch Ness monster. There was books everywhere in the 70s, Nessie, and it was like the number one paranormal cryptid thing that was in everything. Arthur C. Clarke and everybody was looking for the Loch Ness monster. And then now it went quiet. In the last sort of 20 years, 25 years, it's all gone quiet. Nobody talks about Nessie no more.
Yeah.
Nessie's kind of retired. Yeah. And I would thought anything that's down there, I'm very much unlikely it's going to be the same creature, unless it lives for like hundreds of years. It's like it lives forever. Unless it's procreated and there's more than one of them. And maybe the one that she's seeing is maybe the son or the daughter of the one that they saw before, or a cousin or something, or a relation. I don't know.
Could be.
I'm just wondering, maybe it's more than one of them. Maybe there's like a whole, maybe there's like a whole community down there, like a town centre, like Nessie Town Centre, Nessie High Street. Okay, the last story of this episode is one that is one of the most bizarre headlines I've read in a long time, and I know I picked this one because I saw it and I thought that reminds me of Tom. This is the kind of story that Tom would cover.
Yeah.
So I thought we're going to do it. Mystery of Scottish dog suicide bridge, where hundreds of pets have eerily jumped off. Now I'm going to give you the first paragraph and then we're going to discuss a little bit. Overtoun Bridge in Scotland is famous for its numerous dog suicides over the years, with locals and experts still unsure what could be causing the strange phenomena. Right, and what I'm looking at is a long sort of stone bridge that's going through some vegetation with trees and stuff. Apparently, the dogs jump off of it. I don't know why. Scotland is home to many old and picturesque bridges, but none are quite like Overtoun Bridge. At first glance, the Victorian-era stone bridge looks like just like any other. with there's a few dotted across the country. However, unlike any other Scottish bridge, pet owners walking by are urged to keep their dogs on a lead for one very unusual reason. Overtoun Bridge, which found near Dumbarton in West Dumbartonshire, is the site of a strange, unexplained phenomenon. Since the 1950s, there have been many reports of dogs either falling or jumping to their deaths from the bridge. We'll just stop a minute and discuss that. So you got Poppy, the dog, little Poppy, who is little fluffy dog, and he's very happy-go-lucky, likes to play with a little ball, right? Doesn't bark much. You go out for a walk with Poppy, and you think, it's all right, get you off the lead, you go a little run, and he just legs it right off the bridge to its death.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think causes Poppy or any dog to do that? What do you think's going on there?
Well, I don't know. I looked into it a bit more after you sent me this link, and there is different theories. Some of them there's some that are kind of credible. They're saying it's like the landscape that the dog, the way the tree, you can see the tops of the trees over the side of the bridge, but because there's like a wall running along the bridge, the dogs just think that over the top of that bridge it's just ground, so they'll jump up and then they'll lose their footing and fall over. And people are also saying that they could be chasing the smell of minks, and they did an experiment. I don't think it was in relation to this bridge, but they've done experiments with dogs and what scents they'll chase after. And apparently mink urine is really attractive to dogs, and they'll just go crazy for it and they'll go chasing after it. So they're saying there could be minks in that area, and the smell of the urine is making dogs jump over that bridge. But from reading people's accounts, they've always said like that it seemed like the dog was like acting really out of character when they got near the bridge, and like it was almost like they were possessed by something, or something had taken over them. It wasn't like a natural, like the dog was just chasing after something. It was like the dog was acting weird. So I don't know.
So I'm reckoning that area. Well, what you first said is completely plausible. If you're a dog and you're running around and you just know that, you look over the wall and you see green, to you maybe that's just grass and you can jump onto that. The tops of the trees are just grass. To the dog, it thinks it's grass. It's just a field, and so they jump over the wall, or they think they're going to go on the ground. They don't. They just straight down, right down. So maybe that's possible, but also I wonder if anyone's done any measuring of the electromagnetic disturbances or anything like that in the area, or if there's any electronic pylons that crisscross the area, or anything like that that could be causing the animals to act a bit strangely, become a bit sort of disorientated, a bit sort of freaked out by the electrical waves or whatever. Because we know that animals are a lot more susceptible and aware of their surroundings than what we are. Their senses are more highly tuned, and they are with their hearing and their sight, their smell, and it does. And they seem to be a little bit more switched on to the environment than just us clumping along, thinking, oh well, But maybe it's something that's affecting them in a way that they are unable to control themselves, and they just off they jump, and they're not even in control in a way. Because there's a little part in this report. It says one lucky dog who actually survived the leap back in 2014 was three-year-old spaniel Cassie. Her traumatized owner Alice told we had just got out of the car, and Cassie immediately made her way to the bridge. She loves her ball, and it's normally looking at me, waiting for me to normally waiting for it. So it was very uncharacteristic. She turned her head and looked up and did this massive leap.
Yeah.
It was almost like when you read that, it's almost like the dog wasn't really in control of itself.
Yeah, and I've actually
I
found, just to add to that bit, sorry to cut in, but I also found another quote from the same woman on a different page where she says, "We walked towards Cassie as she was on bridge, and she was staring up at something above the bridge, as if she was like possessed or something. She just stood there staring upwards. So I don't know what that means."
Yeah. So I reckon that they need to do some measurements or readings or something around that area. Maybe they'll get to the bottom of it. Maybe there's something that's doing some sort of hypnotizing to the animals. I wonder if it's any other animals that they found that have maybe, jumped off, like I don't know, like a squirrel or a hedgehog.
Well,
or is it just dogs?
there was a. Do you know the story of Kevin Moy?
No.
He's this is a bit of a dark story.
Okay, with that, normal from that coming from you. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
ready.
So I'll just read this off because I was looking at the Wikipedia page for this at the bottom. In October 1994, paranoid schizophrenic Kevin Moy threw his 3-week-old son Egon to his death from the bridge because he believed his son was the incarnation of the devil due to a birthmark. He said that he chose the location due to its association with dark spirits going back to druidic days. So, not just dogs, but also, well, children. In this one case, a man threw his own child over the bridge because of its association with dark spirits.
Yeah.
I mean, he was schizophrenic. So, but if there is something in that area that can affect people's minds, some kind of magnetic electric pole, something like that,
it will be interesting to do a little bit of research and see what paranormal activity has been reported in the area, not just there, but also in the the surrounding area. Because if you say some of those areas that are built on now that we have like homes on and stuff, back in the day they would do, sacrifice and all sorts of manner of things would go on, and you would have no idea now. It would be a lovely plush field or a children's play area. But back in the day, it could have been something completely different. And if we got that, maybe if that's kind of where that area is and those kind of things have gone on, maybe that has, something, I wouldn't say the total cause, but maybe it's adding to it.
Yeah. Well, that article you sent's got something at the bottom, hasn't it, about apparently there's a white lady of Overtoun House, which is just at the end of the bridge.
Yeah.
Who they say haunts the area. Whether or not she's responsible for the dogs jumping over the bridge, I don't know. But
well, what would be interesting is to do the research on the person that this ghost story is surrounded around and see if she ever had any run-ins with a dog, or with, she was ever bit by a dog, or hated dogs, or had dogs that were always barking and it really, got on her nerves. And maybe in death, she hates all dogs and she has the ability to coax them off a bridge. Imagine if you're a ghost and that is all you do. That is that you're so angry with dogs. This is it. This is what I'm going to do for eternity. I'm going to stay here on this bridge as a ghost, and every dog's going to flick it off. Just flick it off. Do a ghost flick and just go doink and flick it off the bridge. But but I don't know. But as I say, I think we've come to the end of this episode. But we've covered some very, very weird stories in this episode, and I'm just wondering, what are your final thoughts on this last story? What's your thoughts on it?
I don't know. I think it's an interesting one. I've heard of this place before, and I kind of wanted to visit with my dog just to see how she reacts. I'd keep her on the lead at least, but I don't know what to make of this one. It's an interesting one, but I think there is other places in the world where they say similar things like that
Yeah,
happen.
there are
There
other
are
places where affect people and affect. There's actually a place in uh up in I think it's Clapham Woods in London. There's an area there which no, Epping Forest, not Clapham Woods, Epping Forest, and allegedly people up there that have been they get a lot of dog walkers up there, and people have been pushed, poked. They come home and they find scratches on them. Also, animals tend to act strange in the woods. They get to the center part, and dogs become like this, like they whimper and they're scared. They want to get out. There's also alleged satanic rituals that have been done in the woods. Things have been found. There's actually a little mini documentary on YouTube about I'm pretty sure it's Epping Forest, and a guy is he's trying to find out who these people are that are doing these rituals and shut them down, but he's had weird things happen to him as well, where people have tried to warn him off. He tried to arrange a meeting with someone that was involved, but I think they told him to sort of stay away and don't get involved. So also alleged animal sacrifice. So don't know. The very ancient woods go back a long way, and people, they're associated a lot of legend and stuff with those places. Much smaller than they were, but a lot of back in those days with forests and woods, there was a lot of different people that would live in the woods, and some of them you didn't want to meet at night or even in the daytime. So and I know there are other places around the world as well that places like that where you can go and it's you feel a bit off, and I think that's got a lot to do with the magnetic interference of the Earth and how it affects us as well, because it doesn't affect us consciously, but subconsciously I think it affects us more so than us being aware of it. So some of the things that we might be experiencing, we might feel that it's completely unnatural, but it's natural in the sense that it's affecting us in a way that we're not aware of it, if that makes sense. I know I've not explained that very well, but you know what I mean. So I'm totally interested in stories. I think that they're all plausible, they're all possible. I haven't got enough information to say that they're not. The Nessie one, definitely on the fence with that. I don't know. The story of Nessie has been going for a long time, and there are videos, there are pictures out there, but it's still inconclusive, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what happened with this massive search that happened recently? There was like hundreds of people went there to try and find Nessie. Is that still going on? Because it did recently come back into the news, but I haven't really heard anything. I think people just over the years have got kind of burnt out on the Nessie thing. Because
I'm going to actually we're going to do that. We're going to do this right now. I'm going to type in on Google. I'm going to put Nessie search results, and let's see what. Actually, no, because that'll give me pictures of. Let's have a look. Loch Ness. Let's have a look. It was Loch Ness, wasn't it? Loch Ness. Let's have a look. We want Loch Ness search results. So let's have a look. Okay, so you'll need to do it because my keyboard on my phone doesn't work anymore.
So I'm going to have a look for this Nessie search that they did.
Yeah, Nessie search result, just so we can be clear on if there was anything that was found.
Oh, well, all I can find is articles saying enthusiasts gear up for the biggest search in 50 years, or the search begins. So these articles were...
Maybe it's ongoing.
I think it is, because this article's from the 21st of August. And it says that
I got it. I've got it here. So basically, it's just from this month, or it says Loch Ness monster search ends without evidence of existence. The biggest Loch Ness monster hunt in over half a century has resulted in several reports of possible sightings, but nothing conclusive. The evaluation of data would take a lot of time, the organisers said. It says several reports of possible sightings have been recorded as the biggest Loch Ness monster hunt in decades ended on Sunday in Scotland. However, no conclusive evidence of the famous beast has yet been found. But they've got a lot of data to go through, so who knows what they might find. But yeah, I just think this is going to go on and on and on and on. And if Nessie's out there, he's most probably, or she, or it, I don't know, is gonna just stay a mystery forever, I think.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things where, back in the day, people were a lot more excited about it, but just as the years have gone on, and there have been so many of these hunts for Nessie with nothing ever surfacing, no conclusive evidence, I think people have just got a bit sort of burnt out on the whole Nessie thing over the years.
It's a little bit like the black cats of England, the black cat sightings. But everyone said, oh, there's black cats out there. There's big cats roaming the countryside, and people were like, no, it's a load of old nonsense. You're just it's all folklore. Well, we know it's a thing now, and we know it's real. Actually, there's a high quality photograph of someone took of a large black, was it a puma or a panther in the British countryside? So we know they're out there. We don't know how many, but they're out there. So yeah, it's a thing, and we know that most probably when the licensing laws changed, I think it was the late 70s or early 80s, where people were keeping exotic pets couldn't keep them anymore. Rather than have their beloved, Tommy the panther or whatever destroyed, they took him down the road and said, "Go run, Tommy, go to the forest." And he got out of the car and said, "Why'd you drive off and leave me? Who's going to feed me?"
Yeah.
But maybe they went feral and went back to nature. They're not stupid. No more free food for you, Tommy. Yeah. I just thought that that has gone a different way, hasn't it? When you look at the black cats and these kind of creatures, there's a well, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion now that they're out there. I don't know how many, but they're out there. But when you go for Nessie, we still don't know. We don't know if Nessie's there or not, because all right, we got water to continue. We have to, you can't see in the water. Maybe we'll have a technology one day where we can actually see. We can remove the water and see straight into the ocean. Maybe we've got something like that now. Maybe they already know. I don't know, but it's a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of people. And the only people that could do it are people that get grants from like universities and stuff. Yeah, but I think that it's been a long time, and I think we should just, Nessie's going to come and come out of the water, it will when it wants to. I think you just leave it. It's like anything. It's like you watch your kettle boil; it takes forever. So
I feel like the appetite's gone for that sort of thing.
It has, because we've moved on so much. We've now got UFOs in the sky. We've got the governments of the world going, well, those UFOs that we said, I think they're a little bit real. I think some of them are real. Let's change the name from UFO to UAP, so it's not like we're admitting that UFOs are real, even though UAP means exactly the same thing. Don't get hoodwinked by that, please. The governments aren't going to tell you anything that's not within their best interest. I'm moving from that onto another tangent regarding disclosure, and I just feel that with all this disclosure stuff, that people are, some people are saying it's coming. They're going to be aliens. They're going to tell everyone. It's going to be no. I don't think there are, but I do not think they are. I think the governments are going to want to keep the people. There's very powerful people in government that do not want this to come out, because they got so much to lose. They got so much power to lose. And there's so many companies out there that have got information or knowledge. They just do not want to give it up. They don't want to give, because they know once they give that up to the government, they just, the government within the government, those men behind behind the throne. It will disappear forever, and it will be what's the first thing that it's going to be that's going to go, look, we've got this technology, it's going to benefit mankind, and then you've got other people in the government that are going to go, yeah, but can we kill people with it? Can we make a weapon from it? Well, maybe give it us. I think that's what's going on right now. But that's another story for another day, because that's another rabbit hole you can go down. I know some people are going to disagree, and that's fine. But I'm getting a little bit burnt out on the whole UFO thing now, and the whole just believing everything the government say. I'm just so not believing anything they say anymore, because everything they tell you is normally something they just want you to believe. It's not actually the truth. And I think when it comes to UFO stuff, there's a lot more going on in the background that the greater public aren't, being allowed to know. And then there's another thing as well. Have you noticed that with the all this stuff that's going on with Congress around the world, the UFO stuff, most of the people, the greater general public, are like, yeah, whatever. Not really bothered.
It's strange how people have just sort of accepted it almost. It's like, oh, there's aliens in. Oh, okay. And then people have just sort of moved on and gone on with their lives. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like you think people will be going crazy, like, oh my God, the government have just confirmed that UFOs are real. But it's strange how people have just sort of accepted it.
Yeah, I think that social media. I think that social media has a massive role to play in that, how it has controlled people, the way that people think. I think that things like any social media, like Facebook, it's a massive psyop. It's a massive way of controlling the way that people think. And I know that some people are going to go, "You mental, yeah, it's rubbish." But you think about it, right? Social media is just the modern day version of buying your newspaper from the newspaper stand. You go buy your newspaper and you read your newspaper, and it's just program. You're just being told what to think. Different papers tell you different ways to think, but it all comes back to the story. The narrative is the same. You're being controlled by something, and it's whether you're doing it intentionally or unintentionally. I think social media is the same, and I think that a lot of this stuff that comes out on social media with the UFO stuff, I go on Twitter sometimes. I go on UFO Twitter and I read stuff that people post, because I do like to find different ideas and different thought processes about what the UFO might be, what they might want. But most of the time, I end up in threads of people just arguing with one another, and I don't understand why people are arguing. All right, if you disagree, but there's no need to have a full-on argument about stuff. But yeah, such is life. That's the way it is. It's the world we live in, isn't it? But anyway, so I think we've come to the end of this episode, and a fun episode it was. One of many more to come. So please don't worry, everyone. If you really enjoy these Tom and I's waffle hours, then there's going to be more. There's going to be lots more. It's just that Tom's a busy man. He's got his own channel, and he's got to do his own thing, and I've got my thing. And when we get time, we do another episode. But I would appreciate if you're out there and you like it and you share it and do all those things, because it really does help move the channel upwards rather than downwards. It all helps. But on a final note, what's your plans for what have you got on the shelf at the moment?
You mean like video wise, or
in general? What's your plans? Yeah, any projects or anything you're working on? New videos?
Well, I've always got things. I've got a video in the works, like a true crime type of thing. I'm kind of trying to get that finished, and I don't know. I think I'm going to be away, sort of somewhere Scarborough way next week. So every time I go away, I always try and look for somewhere interesting nearby to go and explore, to see if there's any like strange stories or whatever. But half the time we end up just going shopping or something, and that all those plans get back, get held up. But I don't know. Maybe I'll look for something to do while I'm down there, and I'll look for some interesting things. But I'm always working. I'm always working on different things,
I was going to say that nearer a time when when the stars align at the right time, I'm going to have to make my trip up to your neck of the woods, and we're going to have to go on and explore together. We have to find somewhere and do a little mini ghost hunt or something. Get our video cameras out and do a little bit of recording and put something together for our channels, because that would be fun. I think that would be quite cool. I'm sure we can find somewhere an old mill or something to wander around at some unearthly hour. And scare ourselves stupid.
Yeah.
But that sounds fun. But it's that would be fun to do. But it's like getting it's like my little project. I had this project of getting a load of podcasters and YouTubers that I've worked with and done shows with over the months, getting them all together and just all getting hiring somewhere and staying over for like a long weekend and in an old, I don't know, an old abandoned castle or something. But these places now are so expensive to hire. And it's like you're talking over for 3 days, like over £1,000 just to hire it. And I know that's fair enough. You can split that between lots of people, but you don't want to do something like that with too many people because it becomes too confusing. You want to keep the numbers quite low, like, you know, no more than sort of 5 people. You don't want like 10 people or 12 people, because even though these large places could sleep that, you want everyone to have their own space where they can just go off and do their own little mini sort of investigation themselves or whatever. You don't want every people around in every room and they would just become too chaotic. So that's still on the agenda, but just waiting for the right place to appear that's in the right sort of part of the country. And maybe it'll happen, but who knows? Hopefully at some point. But yeah, I definitely I'd like to do something like that. That would be fun. Whatever. But I'd also like to do an old mill or an old workhouse or something. Rob from Dead Air Radio did an old workhouse, and he actually Rob from Dead Air. His latest video he's done is an old, I think now demolished shopping mall.
Yeah,
and I would have loved to have gone in there at night when it had all closed, just wandered around, because these buildings, these public buildings that we go shopping in, and when they close and there's no one there, it take on a different feel, don't they?
Oh, definitely.
You know,
yeah.
Feel.
I just love walking around places at night. You know, I love going into the woods at night and walking around. I just feel, I don't know. There's something about the atmosphere in the places at night. It just completely changes.
Well, I don't know about the woods. I mean, you know, I went from like a shopping mall. You're walking around the woods now in the middle of the night. I mean, that's got you different. That's a different level.
I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. I like. Yeah, I don't know.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's it's a different atmosphere when it's dark, and you don't know what's around you. Actually, I was watching I can't remember the YouTuber's name. He does all this like camping stuff, and he camped in an area and he had to move because he became so unsettled that he felt that there was someone walking around him. He could hear footsteps, and there was no one around him, but he could hear footsteps like walking through the shrubbery, through the grass and stuff, and he became so convinced that he could hear this that he packed his gear up and moved. I mean, I know our minds are very powerful at night because we can't see stuff. And I have walked. I mean, we've got a large wooded area here that goes through the coast, and you can walk down. It's the road travels all through it. It's a wooded both sides. And I've walked down that road at night, not on my own, with a group of friends, and it's still a bit eerie. You're always feeling like, you know, you're being watched. So yeah, I know that feeling. I know what you're on about, but it is a bit unsettling. So anyway, yeah, okay. So I think we've come to the end of this episode. Thanks for everybody for listening and putting up with mainly my insane, endless waffling. As I say, Tom will be back on another episode once we decide what we're going to do. I think I do like these kind of free and easy episodes where we just pick a few links and just talk about stuff, because sometimes those are the best episodes because you never know where they're going to go. Have you got any last words, Tom?
Oh God, I can never think of anything when I'm asked questions like this. I don't know. All right, thanks for tuning in, everyone. That's all I can.
There you go. From the man himself.
That's all I can think to say.
Well, there you go. That's a good way to end the episode. I will be back soon anyway. I'm sure, and give it a couple of weeks, and we'll be back with something even more bizarre. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks awfully for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.